I'm going to show you something that I think can make a big difference in how you think about monetizing your life. Now, the big deal is a lot of people say, oh, all you have to do is ask for it. But there are some very specific things and some very specific ways that you should do to get the things that you want. Now, I'm going to be talking about the ladder technique, and I'm going to be talking about the ATM technique. Now, the ladder technique is Neville Goddard. He had espoused using this perspective and this way of doing things so you can achieve the things you want, so you can show up the things that you put onto your subconscious. Now, this other guy that is over at the Success Experiment, he came up with the ATM technique, which is an offshoot of the Goddard technique. Now, I think I've got something that's even better. Now, we're going to look into that, but I want to get into the why this stuff works. So let's take a look at this. So as we look at this, we talk about the ladder technique, but it's really about mastering your mind for manifestation. And it's like this. As you see here, it says, just like a GPS needs a destination, your brain also needs something very clear that it can see, something that it can desire upon, right? So through the ladder technique, you can program your mind before sleep. We're going to use those same techniques, but we're going to add a little twist on it. I'm going to show you that here coming up. How we can add a little twist that starts helping us monetize our life, start seeing the things we want. Now, this works for business. This works for personal life. This works for all kinds of things. We're going to talk about a couple of those here in a second. But let's jump into the science of it, right? Here is the science behind mental manifestation. It's about the subconscious power. Now, the guy over at the Success Experiment said that he used a ATM approach, an ATM technique, where he would literally see the ATM. Let's listen to him as he talks about how he would manifest, use his mental manifestation to bring about more money in his life.
So I wanted to be a little bit more adventurous and more experimenting. So I said, let me try something in my mind. The ATM technique. This is the ATM technique, similar to the ladder technique. In my mind, I'd be at an ATM machine and I'd be pulling out money. I just hear the sound of the ATM machine. So that's what I'll be hearing in my mind over and over again.
So as you notice there, he's talking a little bit about what he did, but it's the how. Let's look at this. The science behind mental manifestation. We're talking about we're going to be using the time right before you go to sleep. It's going to create the perfect condition for bypassing mental barriers. That's one of the key parts, is when you apply these techniques to what you want to achieve. Now, when I think about here at this channel, we talk about a lot of monetizing your life using AI, lo-fi, hi-fi tools. Now, this is one of those tools that we don't often think about. When you hear people talking about a tool, you think they're gonna go get a shovel or something. But no, we're talking about the things you're gonna use for your mind to start seeing the things it needs to see to achieve success. Now, I coach a lot of business people, and I'm always talking about how we're going to use our visioning and how we're going to use sometimes vision boards. But this case, we're going to be using the Goddard method, the ladder method from Neville Goddard, and we're going to be also utilizing the Success Experiment guys' ATM approach, but we're going to add something in there, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that on you in a second. But here's the ATM idea, right? Look at this. The ATM success ritual. It's talking about positioning yourself. Mentally place yourself at a regular ATM. So you're seeing this. And this is what the guy over at the Success Experiment talks about. Seeing it. Engage your senses. Feel the buttons beneath your fingertips. Now, you remember he talked about just hearing the noise and everything, right? So there's that distinctive beep sound as you put in your pen. Talking about witnessing abundance. That's what this is about. It's about how do we put our mind in such a way that it sees this stuff, but we have to do a little bit more than just a mantra. We have to do a little bit more than just seeing these things. The complete experience, it says here. Feel the crisp bills in your hand. So now imagine if you seeing that. Now, this is what the guy at the Success Experiment talked about. I love his ATM approach, but I want us to go a little bit deeper. Let's think about business. If we were in a business setting, Look at it like this, the business success visualization. So let's take that same approach and let's think about the peak achievement. Experience the pinnacle of your business goals, right? See them realize. See the people giving you the contract. Understand, what do you smell? What do you hear? All these different things. Let's see the deal being closed. See yourself confidently finalizing important agreements. And then recognition. See, what we're doing here is giving a total 100% visualization for our mind to hold on to, for our mind to see. But then, like the guy over at the Success Experiment talked about, he did a very specific thing. You go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and you do a little writing. I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that.
First, you have to go up and down in your mind. And then during the day, throughout the day, make little notes, write little notes for yourself to remind you.
Now, if you notice, he is really getting into how you manifest, in this particular case, money, right? Financial specificity. So you start thinking about visualize exact numbers of your bank account and financial statements. But imagine if you're in a business setting, you want to think about customer. How can I connect with my customers? So in this case, let's visualize how joyful they're going to be. Visualize your customers using your product with expression of delight and satisfaction. For my people out there that are starting new businesses, that are out there, in the startup world, or if you're trying to scale your business, these are the kind of things you want to manifest. You want to have those kind of visualizations so that your mind sees your customers. You see perfect interactions, service fulfillment. Now, just getting the customer is not enough. You want to be able to fulfill. So see all of that. That's how it works, everybody. Whether you're using the Neville Goddard's approach, the ladder approach to get your mind in a particular state, or you're using the ATM approach. And this one I'm going to be sharing with you next is going to, really stand on the shoulder of both of those techniques so that we can just see something in a very different way. In this case, look at this. See prosperity flow. See money flowing naturally into your business. Now, for my business folks, that's what you want to do. You want to see all these kinds of interactions, right? And then when you talk about mastering your manifestation practice, it is about perfect timing. Practice when you are in the perfect drowsy state. Now, alert enough to visualize clearly, but relaxed enough for your subconscious mind to absorb that thing that you're trying to do. We're going to look at it in cinematic detail. Create a first-person movie experience. Include sensory details. Look at this. Sights, sounds, textures, and even smells of your desired reality. That's right, smells. What does, when you reach your particular goal, how does it smell? What's going on around you? Take in all of that. We want you to be able to look at it in cinematic detail. And then when we think about the emotional integration, that's really about putting feeling into it. The feeling is the secret. Look at this. The feeling is the secret. Generate authentic emotions of gratitude, joy, satisfaction, as if your desire is already fulfilled. It is seeing it, it is smelling it, it is hearing it. And this is how we're going to even blow past the Neville Goddard technique and the ATM technique. And we're going to get into, I like to call it the cash counter technique. Now, remember, when you go into a bank and you have a large sum that you are taking out of the bank, that thing, they actually say, okay, we got your money, but I want to make sure I put it in the cash counter to make sure we have the right amount. And I want exact amounts. If I pull out, $10,000, boy, you better give me $10,000. But then they go over and they put it in that machine. And imagine that. That thing goes prrr, prrr, because it's counting your bill. So no, I like to use instead of the ATM technique or the Neville Goddard's ladder technique, I like to hear the cash counting at the bank technique, right? Call it what you want to. Make it your very own. But the main thing is that you put some emotion into it, that you see it in cinematic detail. It has the perfect kind of timing that you're going to do this. You're going to do it right before bed so that when you drift off to sleep, that you then can think about that, wake up, and do exactly what the guy at the ATM that at the Success Experiment talked about, how he would write down. Now, that's one of those little details that you want to catch, because that little bit of detail could be the difference between you having success at this. Either way, you want to have and put in consistent practice. Maintain your visualization ritual for at least 3 consecutive nights to create powerful neural pathways of manifestation. That's one of the key components, everybody. Whether you're using the Neville Goddard Ladder Technique to get yourself in a certain mind state, or if you're using the ATM technique, which is good too, but I like the cash counter. I want that thing counting off large amounts of cash, because I started thinking about the ATM technique and I said, well, wait a minute. The ATMs typically only let you take out like what, $500? No, I want more than that. I want thousands of dollars. So I start seeing how this thing is counting up thousands of dollars. The person is bringing it over to me. They're putting it in my hand. I can smell everything that's going around the bank. I can visualize them smiling as they give me my money. You know, they look in my account. They see I have more money to cover that amount. All of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to tell you, for me, it worked like magic. I did this for 7 days straight. And what ended up happening was I was able to get from all kinds of sources. It was invoices. I was putting out invoices. I was giving people, buy me a coffees, all kinds of stuff. And it made a huge difference. And guess what? When I went to the bank, I kid you not, when I went to the bank and they were giving me a large sum of money, they had to put it in the counter. Now, of course, if it was like $2 or something, they give you your $2 and they count that out to you. But it was a large sum of money, and I literally heard the cash counter going, and that kind of completed the cycle. So I did it for another 7 days, and the same thing started to happen. I started writing out invoices, big invoices to people that owed me money for services. I was doing workshops, all kinds of stuff, getting paid in all kinds of different ways. You take a look at it yourself. In the comment section, if you have used some other kinds of techniques, whether it's from Neville Goddard or whoever else, put it in the comment section. I want to hear what you believe. If you think this is a whole bunch of hooey, let me know that too. Because, hey, look, I'm not going to sit over here and fight with you. I know it's working for me, and using the Neville Goddard Ladder Technique, kind of taking that and morphing it a little bit, even the ATM technique from the guy over at the Success Experiment, and then putting in my own. That's the main thing. Use your own methods, and this stuff does work. Now you understand that it's not just putting in and thinking about it and doing mantras. It is about feeling. It's about actually sensing yourself in there and soaking it all in, and that's what is making this stuff work, everybody. Hey, listen, if you like this video, like, subscribe to the channel, send this video to somebody. I want this thing to blow up, because I want you out there using and understanding why it works more specifically. I'll talk to you all in the next video.